The current equity structure is the promoter had 36%. That is, I have purchased that from the promoter. We made an open offer for a further 26%. The open offer is currently underway. I think it's ending on May 27th. The rest of it is owned by the public. It's going to remain a listed entity, and I will own the majority and I'll remain the promoter. We have some acquisition plans, but then those would be new businesses being folded into the Uniply fold. Acquisitions primarily from the focus of today we make plywood in Chennai and ship it to Punjab. The cost of shipment is so prohibitive for us. Of course, on anti-termite nobody else makes it, so it's going quite well. We have one large plant and two sub-facilities in Chennai only. So the plan is right now to acquire immediately within the next 6 to 8 months a unit in the west and a unit in the north. So these would be large plywood manufacturing units that will come under the Uniply banner very soon. Look, each of these plants, like I said, the business is twofold. If you're looking at a branded plywood manufacturer, there is a higher value that you get. But I'm not looking at a branded, I want my brand to come out of that factory. So I'm only looking for a manufacturing facility. So it's in the tens of crores at best. It's not a sort of large scale investment. Let's say about 20-25 crore for all the sort of expansion plans that we have right now. The open offer was made for about 26% at 13.5 rupees a share. So it's about 6.2 crore or something close to 6 odd crores was the number we paid for the open offer shares. From a top line perspective, but not from a bottom line perspective. So they lost money in the last 2-3 years, primarily for the fact that their costs were spiraling. Like I said, if you can't manage raw material, you're in trouble. Until Burma was there, the previous promoters were fine as, they knew how to sort of do the business. But once you go, let's say you go to Vietnam, right? We're currently procuring a bunch of logs from Laos. From Laos, the logs will be shipped to Da Nang or something in Vietnam, and then we'll ship it out of Vietnam to Chennai. You purchase the log at, let's say, X amount of dollars per cubic meter. You agree on the logs there. By the time you come to the port, they send you different logs. So this is the problem that you're facing, and meanwhile your factory is waiting for the logs. So it's really hard if you don't know the local market. We prefer to have the local market presence, and that's where we have an edge over our competition by the fact that we have presence in all these countries around the world with local partners. That's the key. It's not that I sit in each of these offices. We have a local partner there who is from that region. He's also a Kellogg MBA, and he knows international trade. He knows how to structure financing of purchase of the logs, etc. So they started spiraling down this track of losses which they were not able to curtail. I think the first task for me after taking over is to stop that trend and reverse the cost. The cost of capital, for instance, of the business was about 17% at the banks. Right? They borrowed about 55 odd crore or something they have with the banking limits, and they pay 17% as cost of capital. In 1% more than that, I can just borrow it free from the sort of Marwadi market. I don't have to go down to the banks to do it. So one of the first tasks for me is to clean up the financials of the company, make it more accountable, responsible. Everybody should know what is going to come this quarter. It's already quite advanced. We're not starting off now. We've already started off over 2 months ago. I've just delayed this because I wanted to set up the team in Andhra before I come here. But for instance, it's pretty well set all around the place. So end of the current financial year, you'll see a top line growth and a solid industry standard bottom line margin. Top line growth for the business. So that will be driven by regions like Andhra Pradesh. We didn't buy the business for it to be at 170 crore. Greenply does about 1,500 crores of plywood business. Century Ply does another 1,000 odd crore. Number 3 is Uniply. After 1,000, we are down to 170. So for me to jump to that 1,000 itself, for instance, our plant was only used at about 40% capacity. That 170 crore number is achieved by utilization of 40% of our existing capacity. I think we can do better. We can sort of do a lot more with our existing capacity before we look at growing outside the box. Increasing capacity utilization, reducing cost of raw materials, decreasing the working capital cycle, and also more intelligent means of financing the business. We have about, we go in something called notional area, NA basis. So we're talking of around, maybe around 20,000 NA per day is the existing capacity of the business. I mean, but the sale value of 170 crore is only for about 40% of that. So when we ramp that up, you'll see that directly. Along with that, we're looking at an acquisition in the west and in the north. So that will likely little over double our capacity. So we should end up at 40 to 45,000 NA after we finish with these new acquisitions that we're currently negotiating. Discussions are underway, but there's always a price difference between the seller and the buyer. That's sort of where we are right now in terms of negotiation. And also it's important that, when we go into, let's say, a region like Yamuna Nagar near, the Punjab Haryana belt, the land laws are very different. When they acquired the land, what is the classification? Is it licensed? Because the government of India banned plywood licenses in 2000. In 2000, there was a Supreme Court ruling that said you cannot have a plywood company anymore in India. Only the existing players can. So are those licensed? Like Uniply is a licensed player. Most of the unorganized guys don't have a license. They just run, by doing what they do. So question is, how real are these licenses? So just going through the entire paperwork takes time. And then over and above that, there's a price negotiation, because most of these guys, like this, they have a brand called X-Ply. I'm just giving you a random name. They think there's a brand value for that. My point to them is, you're losing money, nobody knows your brand, give me your factory. I'll pay you for the land, I'll pay you for the building, I'll pay you for the machines, and that's about it. So that's where we are right now. Investment will not be much, it'll be about 25 odd crores additional to buy. So the new acquisitions is going to sort of help us grow the business by enhancing capacity. When we took it, right now it's at about 90 crore of debt, the rest is sort of equity. So it was 115 when I took it over. In less than 2 months, it's down to 90. I think we're looking at bringing it down a lot further. See, take Karnataka for a region, right? We do about 3 crores a month there in the region. Combined, the industry does maybe 50 crore a month. For us to even grow, let's take Andhra for instance, we're less than 1 crore a month, little less than 1 crore. If we have to come up to that 3 crore number, we need a lot more capacity available in the south. But the northern region sort of acquisitions are not driven because of lack of capacity. They're driven more from a market access. Because when I ship one plank of plywood from here, I'm restricted to the fact that I have to ship one whole truck. So I have to wait for a dealer to order one truck before I can send the plywood. And then, so how often does the sale happen? No dealer wants to take on a whole truck. He wants to take on like quarter truck. And then managing 5 dealers in like quarter trucks to get to a whole truck it's not the way an organized company should play. So we want to acquire units there that can cater to that region. You need 500 sheets of ply, take it today. Come back next week, we'll give you the next 500, because they don't want to hold stock. They all have very small areas. They have less capital, required. They don't want to risk their money too much, etc. We've hired an ad agency for the first time, and they're working on sort of the entire creatives. We want to keep the sort of sales and marketing budget between 4 and 5% going forward. So that whatever will be the turnover. Initially, you'll see the number will be a little high because we have to get the message out. There are no logs available in India. Like if you have to buy logs in India, you can buy plantation timber, which is rubber, poplar, etc. Kerala has a lot of the rubber which needs to be cut and then they grow back in 3 to 4 years, etc. That is what you can buy. With that, you can't make high quality ply. So almost everybody prefers to import that ply. Even the unorganized sector buys the face and the top and bottom layer. We call those the face veneers. They buy them from organized sectors like us. So we buy the logs, we have the ability to peel the logs, make them into what you call veneers. Those veneers are in turn stuck one on top of the other and pressed in a hot press. That's how you make ply. So the unorganized sector buys those veneers from us. If you take that into account, I'd say that Burma was the lowest cost region previously. Again, when you come into the imported ply business, they had a species called Gurjan, Gurjan. Everybody in the industry wants only Gurjan. It's a reddish colored wood. Yes. So when you peel the Gurjan tree, you get what it is. It was the lowest cost, and then what happened is every Indian company went there and started exporting. You had a whole bunch of traders, etc. So prices have gone sky high now, and now we are seeing of late, after Burma banned logging, we have started purchasing from Laos. We're getting it from, even Century Ply has recently put up a unit there in Laos to peel veneers. So, but if you take the cost differential, yes, the imported veneers are way costlier. I'd say by a margin of almost 40%. But you can't compare the two. Like we couldn't, like this ply could not have been made on a local poplar veneer because the consistency of the wood, the density, the weight, etc., just doesn't make sense for the Indian logs. Then you'll have to go into deforestation. That's a whole different animal. So it's not allowed, it's illegal in India. So the plantation timber will not support high quality plywood. So you need to have forest timber to do that. So the way it works is this, right? The ply is consisted of a face veneer and multiple core veneers. So one face veneer on the top, one face veneer on the bottom, and multiple core veneers inside. What veneer is used in each of these layers defines the cost of the plywood. If you want to buy it at 30 rupees, the face will look like one uniform sheet of ply, but inside there will be gaps. The core veneer won't run throughout. Right? So you will never know that because when you cut the plywood in half, then you will see holes in the middle because that's half the wood is not there. So they reduce the cost by putting alternate sheets there without really filling the gaps in the core veneer. Secondly, they use any kind of wood. So they're highly termite attractive. You know, termites are really attracted to many kinds of wood. So those are issues there. Thirdly, they don't use quality processes to manufacture them. So they just sort of, if you look at a typical unorganized guy who's selling you the 30 or 40 rupees plywood, he's got a facility that's maybe the size of this, twice the size of this stage I'm sitting on. And he's got just one hot press. He buys the veneers from anybody else, just places them, presses them, and sells them. How long they'll last? Can you dip it in boiling water for a day and take it out? It's highly unlikely that any of those tests will be passed when you take the unorganized sort of sector. The 70, 80 rupee plies, yes, they are made with better quality. They buy the raw material from players like us. For instance, Uniply is one of the largest suppliers to the unorganized sector in terms of the face veneer. So the top and bottom layer, we almost own that market in terms of selling to them. Almost everybody buys from Uniply, and that is part of the reason why the numbers are at the 170 odd crore business. So again, this was, if you look at the balance sheet of last year's business, the company lost a few crores, I think 6, 7 crores in forex hedging by not hedging. But this was my profession. I used to design hedging products in the US as an investment banker, and I don't think the other players have competition. We'll do way better. We'll in fact maybe make money on forex transactions going forward. It's quite a simple concept, right? You buy the log on X date and you pay on Y date. The question is, can you peg the price of that Y date today? That is the first level. After that, the question becomes, can you play on the gap between X and Y, between both the dates? Is there some investment you can do to put it in and take it out and then pay, etc.? It starts getting riskier and then returns go higher as you start playing in that hedge. But the basic core hedging has already been done. The company will never see a forex loss ever again in terms of because of not hedging. We've already taken up the future options, whatever has to happen, forward contracts have all been booked, and yeah, that's a past issue. The company was exporting, but export will be a large part of our growth strategy going forward. Australia and New Zealand are large markets where ply, whether it's shipped from China or shipped from India, we have a better shipping cost when we're shipping to New Zealand. It's way down at the bottom. So we already have some sort of business interests in those regions, and we will be looking at export in a large way. And that's why I said starting July 15th, we have a new product line which is going to be compliant with any global standard. Today, the Indian plywood industry is not. So you have to do a special export manufacturing order. So if you get an export order, you have to change the resin, the glue, the chemicals, everything have to change for you to export. But going forward, even our Indian line will be on par with that line. That's already being done and tested as we speak. I'm expecting the test results in the next 20 days, after which we'll launch. The entire range will be in the new standard. It will be at least 30 to 35% by 2 years from now. Yeah. Because the first year I want to focus on sort of the domestic branding activities, and at the same time we'll start testing various markets right now. But we really need to beef up our product line if we need to look at exports. But exports are a large reason why I bought it. The whole investment was made on the thesis that I can buy raw materials cheaper, I can sell better, and I can sell to more countries going forward. Yeah, it's a very small number, right? It's a small percentage. So we're 10% of green. That's literally where we are, right? Not, little over 10, maybe 12 to 13% of where Greenply is. Greenply is the largest player. Greenply plus Century Ply together do about 2,400, 2,500 of business. Then you have Mayur and Arcid, and then you have us. That's it. This is the sort of organized segment as we call it today. You of course have the Austin Ply, you have Sonia, but they're not national brands. You will not get it in Rajasthan. But Uniply is available in Rajasthan, it's available in Shimla, it's available in Gandhidham, it's available anywhere across this, even Chhattisgarh, wherever you go. We have Uniply as a brand. But many of the players are regional sort of players. If you take the organized market per se, I'd say we are a very small percentage of that. 6,000 crore you can assume is the organized market. Of that we are 170, so it's a very small number. But you'll see buoyant growth going forward. We should have a reasonable market share very soon. I don't want to give a number here because we have all the planning is complete. We know what we're doing. We know where we're going. But I don't want to say something and then create a controversy. That's all.